Hopefully we're on now.
I think we're on.
I hope so.
Sorry again, we had some technical difficulties with Restream. We started and had problems, had to turn everything off, restarted again. It's never easy to be on time, I guess. We really should be getting this under control, though, so we're not so late. We apologize for it, but it seems we have all the bugs worked out now.
More or less. More or less.
More or less. Got a few bugs. We'll spray them when they come out. It's Sunday, baby. It's Sunday. It's the last day of the weekend, so we want to have our Blue Dot meeting, and I'm glad everybody's tuning in. I want to say hello to Thomas Morgan because I seen him go by there. Look at there. Can you see that? No, it's in the other shot when you put in the little window because I moved it.
What? No, you can't see the chat when you do that.
No. I said in the picture when you put the other thing up there. Thomas Morgan's picture. Remember, I told you I put it right there. So when you switch shots, you'll be able to see it. Anyway, we got a special show tonight. We're going to try out some more of our technologically advanced crap here, and we're going to watch the investigation in 10 acts, which I really do hope y'all enjoy. It's going to be filled with a lot of information. If you haven't been able to read the book, and I have the book right here, and it is hard to get through. I found myself skipping around trying to keep up with the information that I'm trying to familiarize myself with. But it's very difficult to sit down and read 400 something pages. And but this little show that the Stars put on the other night, Mom and I watched it live, and it really lays it out right out of the Mueller report in the language right out of the read right from the book. So but it points out those 10 acts of obstruction. If anybody ever wonders, what's going on, John? What do you mean obstruction? We'd be able to whoop out one of them 10 and slap them up the face. Because we're trying to pass he needed slapping law, right?
Yes.
Yes. And on that note, Travis did a whole lot of work.
Yes, so let me get this set up here. So basically
And Thomas, there's your picture right there, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Now I get you.
Yeah, that's why I said put that up there, because when you put the other screen up there like you're fixing to do.
Yeah, so we've been at work for a while on this shit, and I think this is going to be our new home, and it's going to stay like that. We finally have a brand new store, and let me pull this up here. We are now on Teespring. Teespring.
Yeah.
Go to www.teespring.com/stores/A Blue Dot in Texas.
There you go.
And
finally, we have everything that we had, including the original, as in Dave's picture. Where's Dave's picture? See there? Standing in front of the White House. They can't see that right now.
No, they can't.
But that picture of Dave standing in front of the White House, he's got on my Blue Dot t-shirt, and it says, "Are you shitting me?"
Yes.
That one.
Yeah.
He's wearing right in front of the
we got
the White House.
The old shirts, along with some cartoon parody shirts made by Shroomy. I'll call her Shroomy. That's her artist name. Got some cartoon parody shirts, stickers, tote bags, pillows, tank tops, hoodies.
Yeah, it's me singing a song.
Yeah. We are going to be uploading new content frequently, including the new I support the he needed slapping law.
Yeah, there you go. And somebody can ask you about that. Well, what law is that? Well, that's when somebody says something stupid, and you're in front of the judge for slapping him, and the judge says, "Well, how come you slap him?" And you can look at him and go, "Well, he needed slapping, Judge."
Yes.
Okay, case dismissed. Get out of here. So that's the way it goes.
So we got stickers, coffee mugs, hoodies, tank tops, normal T-shirts, tote bags, throw pillows, just anything that Teespring wanted us to sell. We decided we'd sell it.
Yeah.
So again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can find the link below. That is a Blue Dot in Texas on Teespring. So teespring.com/stores/a Blue Dot in Texas. And also, if you put in promo code BDLive at checkout, you'll get a small little discount thrown on your first order. So yeah, it helps support the show. And if things work out correctly, if you order anything while the stream is going, you will have a little alert pop up and we can give you a shout out. We should. I haven't been able to test it yet because there's no easy way to test it.
Yeah, when somebody joins Patreon or somebody subscribes, there's something that jumps up on the screen, lets everybody know what happened. Cool.
So
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, I'm sure we'll bring this up again later on in the
speaking of people
stream,
that donated, before we go any farther,
Oh,
I want
yes.
to call out Soul Tie. Soul Tie, I hope you're listening out there, buddy, because last time he donated $5 through Super Chat, and it slipped by while we were watching the debate.
Yeah.
And I did not get to call him out, so I had a note here to make sure to call out Soul Tie and tell him thank you very much for that Super Chat donation. It comes in very handy, baby. I appreciate it. Anyway, What are we doing now?
I'm going to get us set up for the stream, but we can welcome everybody from the Discord chat.
Oh, look at there.
Yeah, we got the chat going right now.
Budman's there. Biker Leo's there. Dennis Valadez and Velda. How y'all doing this evening?
I'm doing fine.
Good. I'm glad y'all are here. I really hope y'all enjoy this. I know I did. It is comical at times, almost. If you'd laugh real good if it wasn't so damn obvious. What's that?
While we're sitting here in a little pause, Travis, what's the best way for us to see things where that's the dog dropping an antler next to me. But the best way to see things without a whole lot of lag between seeing and hearing.
Seeing and hearing? What do you mean by that?
Well, if I go to the YouTube channel or I go to Facebook, there's always a huge lag between what's happening there in the room with you guys and what we're talking about.
So basically put, what that is both YouTube and Facebook putting out the stream, right? But it goes in through a delay just in case that they have to pull our stuff down for whatever reason. And also our slow internet connection takes us a while to actually upload the stream all the way to Facebook and YouTube and stuff. So it's not something that's in our control. It's something that's out of our control.
And can't be fixed by the sound of it.
No.
Well, let me put it in more or less tech speak.
Yeah.
The connection between us and Discord is direct connection. The broadcast goes through the Facebook servers and bounces off satellites and then comes back to everybody.
Oh,
so it has to funnel out.
That makes a ton of sense. I get it.
That puts it more, where I can understand it a little bit better.
Basically put.
Yeah. The Discord is we're a straight line into each other, which makes us live, baby. So I love it.
And I prefer that. So I do a whole lot of listening and hearing stuff rather than seeing it, I guess.
Well, Leo, I'm hoping that we can use this same setup here, like when me and you can do a show together. That way we're both on camera at the same time and all that. That kind of stuff.
Whenever you're ready to do that, just give me a heads up beforehand, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what I plan on doing, is reaching out to a few of y'all, and being able to have that capability, and a lot of other stuff that this allows us to do. Like I said, kick up a video or something that I told Travis we need to find that video of Donnie walking up the airplane with the toilet paper stuck on his shoe, so we can pull that up anytime we want to point out just the majesty of our president.
And you know that he didn't do a good job because he can't do a damn thing quite right. No. Even with all of that, he still has skid marks. That's all there is to it.
Skid marks, buddy. I'm telling you, he set history today, though, baby. He set history.
Yeah, he sure did. He's the first traitorous president ever to walk into the soil of one of our sworn enemies.
Yeah. Ain't on a whim, baby. On a whim from Twitter.
Well, he probably got him a heartfelt letter where they fell in love again. And,
they just have to have that reach out to feel each other's hand. Maybe gave a little tickle on the inside of the palm or something.
Whatever. All I know is it was disgusting.
This is getting too detailed. Please stop.
Well, this was his tour, man. You'd think the G20, we were all excited. This is a big thing. The G20, all the world leaders are going to be there. And who do we hear about? We hear about Salam bin Slice-a-Dice, Crown Prince. We hear about Putin and Kim Jong-un. There's the story. That's the big story when he goes to the G20. It's not our allies. It's, what the hell is that?
Don't worry about
it. It's not.
Never mind. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Who won? I just want to know who won that fight.
I just closed the garage door.
Oh, there you go.
Really quick to the YouTube chat. Thank you for the heads up. we had a few people come in and say, hey, the link wasn't working to the store. I'm like, link wasn't working? I'm going to have to check that out. So I went and looked, and sure enough, crap, one of our links wasn't working. So you might have to refresh the stream for it to work, but the next time you log in and see the stream, you'll see the link. So that, and I also see Gray Finrer. Yeah, I fixed it. That's why I'm bringing this up.
Good job. Fix that shit.
And also Tyler's bringing it up in the chat too. So or AKA Gray Finrer. So
Gray Finrer. That's my other son, which is a whole lot better than his other online nickname.
We're gonna bring that story up one day.
We will someday bring up that story because
when we don't have shit to talk about, that's an epic story to talk about.
That's an epic story within our house. That one of these days I'm gonna whip out and let everybody know.
Yes. So
he might run in here and kill us, but
nah, he's pretty proud of that story.
We were talking about what an asshole he is, going ahead and being the traitor that he is. But I don't want to jump right into a thing if we can. Looking at the end of the first debates, which to me were pretty much all just an introduction,
right?
Letting people get an idea of who these people are. Who do you feel came away moving up, and who do you feel came away moving down?
Well, on the first night, I think Elizabeth Warren came away with the way up, and on the second night, it was Kamala Harris who made the biggest jump.
Okay, and, now that's where I want to stop for just a second.
Yeah,
Kamala Harris, what are the things that piss people off so much about her? I was having a talk today.
Aggressive. She is aggressive.
Well, there's that, but I have a friend from Connecticut, and I didn't post it in when we were talking. He had posted a thing that I had shared that Kamala Harris seemed to really take a notch up there.
Right.
And he had posted a thing calling her a pretty terrible thing just because she was a prosecutor. Right. Now, before anybody gets pissed at him, he has a right to do that. Does anybody out there besides me know what the name Peter Riley means?
Peter Riley. I'm sorry, I don't. It's not
bringing it up. It's a young man that is probably one of the worst cases of judicial malfeasance that ever happened. It happened in a small town called Canaan, Connecticut, my hometown.
Oh, hell.
And he was accused of killing his mother. And railroaded by the police and the district attorney at the time. And they kind of talked him, they coerced a confession out of him.
Right.
And he kind of came back at anybody that is a prosecutor like that.
Right.
Should ought to have a 5-year waiting period before they can go into the judiciary or political office. Wow. And I couldn't refute that very well.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with that because in any profession, just because she's a prosecutor couldn't limit her to what she could run for in any municipality or state or federal. She's a prosecutor. She was known as a tough prosecutor sometimes, and I don't want anybody to think that all prosecutors and all judges, are bad or evil or they work to undermine our system. A lot of we have to face a lot of people in our society need to go to prison. And we see stories of that all the time. The recent story right now with the young lady that was picked up at a park. I forgot where it was, Colorado or somewhere. College student that was murdered and
I know what you're talking about. Man.
That story. It's this guy. He deserves to be judged, and he deserves to be judged harshly. In my book.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm looking at what he said though, and his reasoning on it, and I'm sitting back and going, well, he was talking more about the good old boy network that always seems to be involved in prosecutors and judges and politicians. And
the good old boy,
I feel
good old boy club's another one of them white privilege things that used to that float around.
Yeah,
it's the good old boy network.
I feel the same thing in retro that after you do have office, you should not be able to go into lobbying for a few years. it just made me wonder. And the only reason that I took it seriously is because I don't know another person on this planet that is more justifiably suspicious of that side of the legal system. So I thought she really stepped up. And then when he did take a shot like that, first thing I said to everybody was, before you jump on him, you better know that this is somebody that knows where he's coming from on it.
Right.
And and then I talked to him a little later, and after talking to him, that was the thing that he threw at me, was the good old boy system. And
well, to prevent somebody from advancing into a political realm from a professional realm, I don't see a problem making that step. The problem I see is in the reverse, is when you leave government service and then you go right over to K Street to get you a job over there at one of the lobbying companies, out there, and you immediately, that law I think is solid, because it tries to prevent those that know what they're doing from just going peddling that shit the minute they're out. And
taking that a step further with Kamala in particularly, we are only through the first debates, as I said. This was an introduction.
We're just now getting started, baby. We got a long way to go.
If there's any real shit in her background, you can, this is 2019.
Anything's coming out. You
got real shit in your background. It ain't.
Yeah, right now, Biden is on the hook for that. Biden, everything about the busing issues back when, he's addressing. And he's having to account for it. For his.
Those are tough questions.
Yes,
Travis.
they are.
Yes.
Have you read your messages?
Let me get back to you on that.
Sparky says he's watching the NASCAR race that got delayed. Must have got delayed. That's all right, Spark. We know where the loyalties are. That's all right.
Evil laugh.
He's an easy going. He's loving it. He's out there in his garage probably living it up, baby. He's got
Making
the life out there.
left turn.
Yeah, making another left turn, baby. They threw them road races in there, and them right turns screwed everybody up. But how are you, Velda?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And you, Bud Man?
I'm doing great.
Outstanding.
Enjoying my Sunday afternoon.
There you go. I'm glad everybody is. We had a little weather tried to move in on us, but it went away at the last moment. Well, are we ready to?
Yeah, we're about to get started here.
I don't know exactly how I want to do this. It's an hour and a half long, or about that, but it's 10 acts. Yeah, we can stop because between each one there's a pause, and it tells you Act 2, and so I think we could probably get through maybe 2 or 3 before we might stop and discuss a few things, and then go on and have another 3, and then another 3, and then the ending is something that is makes you think. But what do y'all think about that? Is that cool?
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Before we jump in, I want to do a shameless plug. I saw that movie yesterday, the one about the Beatles.
Plug. About the Beatles?
Oh, what was it?
Yeah.
Yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday.
I watched it last night.
When did you see it?
Last night.
Yesterday.
Any good?
Shut up,
it was
Dad.
actually
Who's
really,
on first?
really good.
Who's on first?
Anyway, so it was
the
good.
The trailer kind of wanted me to expect more out of it, but it was really good. It was well done.
That's good.
That's outstanding. Good.
That's really good. No, like that. I've been seeing that one, and it's just like I was trying to figure out if it was actually based on the Beatles or based on the guy that they were referencing throughout the entire trailer. Like I didn't quite understood what was going on with the. Unless if I'm getting two separate things completely mixed up.
Well,
but
who were they referencing?
Without trying to give away the plot, basically, he has an accident, and when he wakes up, the Beatles never existed.
Oh shit!
So he starts singing all their songs.
No.
Oh shit!
Oh, I think I've seen the trailer to that.
Okay, well now that makes sense.
Everybody worships him because he's a great songwriter.
Damn.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to smack that guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Judge.
Maybe we need
wait a minute. You're still in that shit.
We can watch the movie first before casting judgment.
Yeah, no, I want to see it actually because I saw the trailer to it and it's got some great, It's got great music. What can you say?
Yes.
All right.
Really quick, we want to welcome Lone Wolf, Spider Mike, and Yogi, a.k.a. Chris, to the call. How are y'all doing tonight?
Still fat.
There's Lone Wolf.
Hey, Lone Wolf, how you doing, buddy? Clock's ticking. I'm going to find out who you are.
Still fat.
Yeah. Your identity will not be hidden much longer. We're gonna
introducing.
What do you think?
How about it, Spider Mike? You out there, buddy? Oh, he's muted.
Spider Mike is a long-time listener. He's been listening for about a year. This is his first time on Discord.
Oh,
well,
awesome.
we appreciate him
he's
joining.
He's the one that sent you the blue dot spiders.
No
shit.
shit. I
That's
got
awesome.
them all over the place. If y'all watch, where's my spider?
There it is.
It's right there. Mama's got one on her door. I got one in my shop. I have several people. My mailman has one. Yes, I have delved those out. I also have something coming pretty soon.
That's me.
There you go.
That's you, Spider Man. I'm impressed, buddy. Anybody that can do that with one strand of wire, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good to lay it out like that. I appreciate that.
Outside to get away from the dogs making noise, and what do I get? The police.
Oh, no shit, Biker. Biker Leo's got the cops at his door. That's all.
They're not here for me.
Oh, damn it. Thought we was going to have some excitement here.
I know. Yeah, I'd be calling on y'all to bail me out, though. Come on.
Not a problem, buddy. We'll come to the rescue. We will do that. Well, Spider Mike, I'm glad you're here, buddy.
It'll never be anything worse than simple assault. So a couple $100 will do it.
There you go.
We're getting a little bit of backfeed from you, Mike.
Okay, probably mine.
Yeah, you can't listen to the speakers while you're on the Discord because we'll get a feedback through there. And on while we're taking a minute, I want to thank Karen Van Wink. Donated $5 through Super Chat and says, John, I appreciate all you do and never stop fighting for what is right, baby. That's what this fight is all about. We know what's right. We know it in our heart that the fight that we're fighting is a fight worth fighting because it's for all of us, baby. And we stand together. We stand with no one. That's what this deal is. And so anyway. We really appreciate that.
I hope that a lot of people understand that, really, John. You know, we've said it 1,000 times, but the whole family aspect, it's because we have to, it's just as military as anything else. Yeah. You got to stand shoulder to shoulder.
We got to stand together, baby.
We
pick up the banner, we march forward. Our whole history of our whole country has been one continuous fight throughout our whole history for the rights not only of our country to exist, but for all of those in our country. To be treated equally within the law, be treated equally within our society. It's what we work for, baby. And we impact every day with that by living our lives the right way. You know, don't be a dick. That's the way. Yep. Just live your life.
Exactly. Don't fall into that need to be flat.
That's right. That's right. And I saw a lot of it displayed today on the news about people protesting against the pride parades in different locations. It's just ridiculous. Are you shitting me? Get out of the way.
You got the people out there that are sitting there, they're asking the question, well, why can't we just have a straight pride? Because you don't need one.
Because you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You don't need one. You know,
Pride
Month is something they could be proud of. And now, on the 50th anniversary of Stonewall Inn, you know, it's a time for them to take that, you know, that's what I mean. It's a fight. It was a fight for them, just like it was a fight for civil rights. It was a fight for women's votes. Go on back through our history. It was a right. It's been the fight for the rights of somebody all through our history. And we're not done. We're a long way from that utopia that we all would love to see. But again,
well, I had it out with a couple of Trumpers today. You got to remember where I live. It's just like you. I'm in the middle of red.
That's it, baby. You know, there's a guy on the corner down there the other day selling MAGA hats. He's shitting.
Oh, dear God! Now, were they licensed MAGA hats, or was he just?
No, I didn't stop to find out.
Shit, wasn't he?
I just made my comment and kept going.
But it would be justified if you turned him in and he wasn't selling licensed ones.
If I would have stopped, it would have been instigation on my part.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Velda?
So. I was going to say turn him into the Trump campaign. They'll nail his ass if it's not legal.
Oh yeah,
kidding.
absolutely.
Good point.
Come out and whip a Trump badge. Look at here. I'm here to check them hats, make sure that you have a license to sell that shit. And if not, I'm gonna have to confiscate them and burn them.
And videotape the whole damn mess.
That's right. Have to burn them as contraband. Can't be selling that Chinese knockoff stuff. Oh wait, no, his hats are made in China.
Yeah, so, they probably are.
Yeah. All right. In the essence of time, I guess we better get this started. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first 3 acts of the investigation, the Mueller investigation, and I think you'll find it entertaining and also informative. So let's kick it off. Let's see what happens.
Getting it going.
There you go. There's the actors coming into the room. Now, these are all stars that have volunteered to do this.
That cast was, remember my background, 20 years in theater, that cast was superb.
Yes, I was really impressed with everybody who came. John Lithgow did an excellent job.
Excellent job.
Oh, man, how much did you hate Trump after him?
No shit. No shit.
When they put it in something actually that you can sink your teeth into and envision.
Yeah.
John.
All right. And here we go.
It's Spider Mike here. How do I listen to what John's saying?
Can't hear him?
Are you?
No.
And welcome to New York City's
do you have headphones?
On my tablet, it says his mic is off.
Oh, no, my mic's on.
Okay, I'm turning this back off.
We're here to see a reading of the investigation, A Search for the Truth in 10 Acts, a new work by Robert Schinken, directed by Scott Ellis. The investigation takes us into the heart of the Mueller report, the 10 counts of obstruction of justice.
Wow, we're getting
Mueller
says I didn't realize that. I know Scott Ellis.
For itself.
There you go.
Tonight,
holy shit, that guy directed so much great stuff on Broadway, it's not even funny.
Oh, these are big
Over
actors. You're going to recognize several of them.
No, the actors I knew, but I didn't realize it was Scott Ellis that had written that.
Over my 50-plus years in journalism, I have seen that for democracy to flourish requires able leaders and serious citizens sharing in a life of free and enriching communion. Let's call it the conversation of democracy. The late James Carey, who taught journalism just a few blocks from here, at Columbia, once defined the public as a group of strangers gathering to discuss the news.
Well, this is Spider Mike. I'm going away because I can only hear the Budman and nobody else. I'll try next time.
To hear, discuss, and argue, sometimes tumultuously,
thank you, Mike,
about what mattered to them as citizens. They were searching for the truth, knowing that this young democracy could die of too many lies. Let's imagine that this is our public green tonight, and that the investigation is our search for the truth in the continuing drama of democracy.
There you go.
The Mueller report is the findings and conclusions of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian efforts to interfere in the 2016 United States presidential election, allegations of conspiracy or coordination between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and Russia, and allegations of obstruction of justice. The report was publicly released on April 18, 2019. It is divided into 2 volumes. Volume 1 focused on Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and concludes it occurred in sweeping and systematic fashion and violated U.S. criminal law.
Robert Mueller, there were multiple systematic efforts to interfere in our election. That allegation deserves the attention of every American.
There you go.
Volume 2 focuses on obstruction of justice.
Obstruction of justice is the crime of willfully interfering with the process of justice and law, especially by influencing, threatening, harming, or impeding a witness, potential witness, legal officer, or by furnishing false information or otherwise impeding an investigation or legal process.
Robert Mueller's investigation found 10 possible acts of obstruction of justice. Let us examine what Mueller discovered in his own words as laid down by the report. Act 1. President Trump asked the FBI director to shut down the investigation into National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
On January 12, 2017, a Washington Post columnist reported that Michael Flynn and Sergei Kislyak, a senior Russian diplomat, communicated on the day the administration of Obama announced the Russia sanctions. President-elect Trump called Priebus after the story was published and expressed anger about it.
What the hell is this all about?
Reince Priebus, White House Chief of Staff, called Flynn and told him that the president was angry about the reporting on Flynn's conversations with Kislyak.
Michael Flynn. Flynn recalled that he had felt a lot of pressure because Priebus had spoken to the boss and said Flynn needed to
kill the story.
January 27, the president called FBI Director James Comey and invited him to dinner that evening.
Priebus recalled that before the dinner, he told the president something like, "Don't talk about Russia, whatever you do."
And the president promised he would not talk about Russia at the dinner.
Don McGahn, White House counsel, had previously advised the president that he should not communicate directly with the Department of Justice to avoid the perception or reality of political interference in law enforcement.
When Steve Bannon, White House chief strategist, learned about the president's planned dinner with Comey, he suggested that he or Priebus also attend.
But the president stated that he wanted to dine with Comey alone.
According to Comey's account, at one point during the dinner, the president stated,
"I need loyalty. I expect loyalty."
Comey did not respond, and the conversation moved on to other topics.
But the president returned to the subject of Comey's job at the end of the dinner and repeated, "I need loyalty."
You will always get honesty from me.
That's what I want. Honest loyalty.
You will get that from me.
February 13th, 2017, Priebus told Flynn he had to resign.
Flynn said he wanted to say goodbye to the president, so Priebus brought him to the Oval Office.
Priebus recalled that the president hugged Flynn, shook his hand, and said,
"We'll give you a good recommendation. You're a good guy. We'll take care of you."
February 14, 2017, the day after Flynn's resignation, the president had lunch at the White House with New Jersey Governor Christi.
"Now that we fired Flynn, the Russia thing is over."
No way. This Russia thing is far from over. We'll be here on Valentine's Day 2018 talking about this.
What do you mean? Flynn met with the Russians. That was the problem. I fired Flynn. It's over.
Christie also told the president that he would never be able to get rid of Flynn like gum on the bottom of your shoe.
Towards the end of the lunch, the president brought up Comey and asked if Christie was still friendly with him.
Christie said he was.
"Tell him that the president really likes him. Tell him he's part of the team." At the end of the lunch, the president repeated his request that Christie reach out to Comey.
Christie had no intention of complying with the president's request that he contact Comey. He thought the president's request was nonsensical, and Christie did not want to put Comey in the position of having to receive such a phone call. Christie thought it would have been uncomfortable to pass on that message.
The president met with Comey, Sessions, and other officials for a Homeland Security briefing. At the end of the briefing,
the president dismissed the other attendees and stated that he wanted to speak to Comey alone. Once they were alone, the president began the conversation by saying, "I want to talk about Mike Flynn." The president stated that Flynn had not done anything wrong in speaking with the Russians, but had to be terminated because he had misled the vice president.
The conversation turned to the topic of leaks of classified information.
But the president returned to Flynn. He's a good guy, and he's been through a lot. I hope you can see your way to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He's a good guy. I hope you can let this go.
Comey agreed that Flynn is a good guy, but did not commit to ending the investigation of Flynn.
February 15, 2017, the president told reporters...
General Flynn is a wonderful man. I think he's been treated very, very unfairly by the media.
The president said he did not direct Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak, but...
It certainly would have been okay with me if he did. I would have directed him to do it if I thought he wasn't doing it. I didn't direct him, but I would have directed him because that's his job.
February 22nd, 2017, Priebus and Bannon told Deputy National Security Advisor K.T. McFarland that the president wanted her to resign, but they suggested to her that the administration could make her the ambassador to Singapore.
McFarland reached out to White House legal staff John Eisenberg. McFarland told him that she'd been fired from her job and offered the ambassadorship in Singapore, but that the president and Priebus wanted a letter from her denying that the president directed Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak.
Eisenberg advised McFarland not to write the requested letter.
As documented by McFarland in a contemporaneous memorandum for the record that she wrote because she was concerned by the president's request,
Eisenberg thought the requested email and letter would be a bad idea. From my side, because the email would be awkward. Why would I be emailing Priebus to make a statement for the record? It would also be a bad idea for the president because it looked as if my ambassadorial appointment was in some way a quid pro quo.
Later that evening, Priebus stopped by McFarland's office and told her not to write the email and to forget he even mentioned it.
Act 2. President Trump said he fired FBI Director Comey because of the Russia investigation.
May 3, 2017, in the afternoon following Comey's testimony before Congress, the president met with McGahn, Jeff Sessions, and Sessions' Chief of Staff, Jody Hunt.
This is terrible, Jeff. It's all because you're recused. Attorney General is supposed to be the most important appointment. Kennedy appointed his brother. Obama appointed Holder. I appointed you, and you recused yourself. You left me on an island. I can't do anything. The president said that the recusal was unfair and that it was interfering with his ability to govern and undermining his authority with foreign leaders.
Sessions responded that he had no choice but to recuse. And it was mandatory rather than discretionary decision.
Steve Bannon recalled that the president brought Comey up with him at least 8 times on May 3rd and May 4th. The president said the same thing each time.
He told me 3 times, I'm not under investigation. He's a showboater. He's a grandstander. I don't know any Russians. There was no collusion.
Bannon told the president he could not fire Comey because that ship had sailed. He also told the president that firing Comey was not going to stop the investigation, cautioning him that he could fire the FBI director, but could not fire the FBI.
At a dinner on Friday, May 5, attended by the president and various advisors and family members, including Jared Kushner and senior advisor Stephen Mueller, the president stated that he wanted to remove Comey and had ideas for a letter that would be used to make the announcement. The president dictated arguments and specific language for the letter, and Mueller took notes. As reflected in the notes, the president told Mueller that the letter should start...
While I greatly appreciate you informing me that I am not under investigation concerning what I have often stated is a fabricated story on a Trump-Russia relationship pertaining to the 2016 presidential election, please be informed that I believe the American public, including D's and R's, have lost faith in you as director of the FBI.
Following the dinner, Mueller prepared a termination letter based on those notes and research he conducted to support the president's arguments. On May 9, Jody Hunt, Chief of Staff for the Attorney General, delivered to the White House a letter from Sessions recommending Comey's removal and a memorandum from Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General, titled
Restoring Public Confidence in the FBI.
McGahn recalled that the president liked the Department of Justice letters and agreed that they should provide the foundation for a new cover letter from the president, accepting the recommendation to terminate Comey.
Notes taken by Annie Donaldson, White House lawyer, reflected the view of the White House counsel's office that the president's original termination letter
should not see the light of day, and that it would be better to offer no other rationales for the firing than what was in Rosenstein's and Sessions' memoranda.
Donaldson also wrote,
"Is this the beginning of the end?" Because she was worried that the decision to terminate Comey and the manner in which it was carried out would be the end of the presidency.
That night, the White House press office called the Department of Justice and said the White House wanted to put out a statement saying that it was Rosenstein's idea to fire Comey.
Rosenstein told other Department of Justice officials that he would not participate in the putting out a false story.
The president then called Rosenstein directly and said he was watching Fox News, that the coverage had been great, and that he wanted Rosenstein to do a press conference.
Rosenstein responded that this was not a good idea because if the press asked him, he would tell the truth that the Comey firing was not his idea.
May 9, 2017. The president called Christi and said he was getting killed in the press over Comey's termination. The president asked what he should do.
Did you fire Comey because of what Rod wrote in the memo?
Yes.
Get Rod out there. Have him defend the decision.
The president told Christi that this was a good idea and said he was going to call Rosenstein right away.
In the morning on May 10, 2017, President Trump met with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak in the Oval Office. The media subsequently reported that during the May 10 meeting, the president brought up his decision the prior day to terminate Comey, telling Lavrov and Kislyak,
"I just fired the head of the FBI. He was crazy, a real nut job. I faced great pressure because of Russia. That's taken off. I'm not under investigation."
The White House did not dispute the account, instead issuing a statement that said, "By grandstanding and politicizing the investigation into Russia's actions, James Comey created unnecessary pressure on our ability to engage and negotiate with Russia. The investigation would have always continued, and obviously the termination of Comey would not have ended it. Once again, the real story is that our national security has been undermined by the leaking of private and highly classified information."
In the afternoon of May 10th, 2017, Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Sanders spoke to the president about his decision to fire Comey and then spoke to reporters in a televised news conference. Sanders told reporters that the president, the Department of Justice, and bipartisan members of Congress had lost confidence in Comey. And most importantly, the rank and file of the FBI had lost confidence in their director. Accordingly, the president accepted the recommendation of his Deputy Attorney General to remove James Comey from his position. In response to questions from reporters, Sanders said that Rosenstein decided on his own to review Comey's performance, and that Rosenstein decided on his own to come to the president on Monday, May 8th, to express his concerns about Comey.
Just a little side note on Press Secretary Sarah Sanders.
A year later, Sanders told this special counsel's office that her reference to hearing from countless members of the FBI was a
slip of the tongue.
She also recalled that her statement in a separate press interview that rank and file FBI agents had lost confidence in Comey was a comment she made
in the heat of the moment.
A lie.
That was not founded on anything.
Back to our story.
May 11, 2017, the president participated in an interview with Lester Holt.
I was going to fire Comey, regardless of recommendation. Rosenstein made a recommendation, but regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey, knowing there was no good time to do it. And in fact, when I decided to do it, I said to myself, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won.
Act 3. President Trump ordered White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Robert Mueller.
Obstruction of justice.
May 17, 2017, Acting Attorney General Rosenstein appointed Robert S. Mueller III as special counsel and authorized him to conduct the Russia investigation and matters that arose from the investigation.
When Sessions told the president that a special counsel had been appointed, the president slumped back in his chair and said,
"Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm fucked." The president became angry and lambasted the Attorney General for his decision to recuse from the investigation, saying, "How could you let this happen, Jeff?" The president said the position of Attorney General was his most important appointment and that Sessions had let him down, contrasting him to Eric Holder and Robert Kennedy. "You were supposed to protect me. Everyone tells me that if you get one of these independent counsels, it ruins your presidency. It takes years and years, and I won't be able to do anything. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me." The president then told Sessions that he should resign as Attorney General.
Sessions agreed to submit his resignation and left the Oval Office.
Hope Hicks, White House Communications Director, saw the president shortly after Sessions departed and described the president as being extremely upset by the special counsel's appointment. Hicks said that she had only seen the president like that one other time when the Access Hollywood tape came out during the campaign.
The next day, May 18, 2017, FBI agents delivered to McGahn a preservation notice that discussed an investigation related to Comey's termination and directed the White House to preserve all relevant documents.
When he received the letter, McGahn issued a document hold to White House staff and instructed them not to send out any burn bags over the weekend while he sorted things out.
Don't burn anything.
Also, on May 18, Sessions finalized a resignation letter.
Pursuant to our conversation of yesterday, and at your request, I hereby offer my resignation. Sessions, accompanied by Hunt, brought the letter to the White House and handed it to the president.
The president put the resignation letter in his pocket and asked Sessions several times whether he wanted to continue serving as Attorney General.
Sessions ultimately told the president he wanted to stay, but it was up to the president.
The president said he wanted Sessions to stay.
At the conclusion of the meeting, the president shook Sessions' hand.
But he did not return the resignation letter.
May 18, 2017, when Priebus and Bannon learned that the president was holding on to Sessions' resignation letter, they became concerned that it could be used to influence the Department of Justice.
Priebus told Sessions it was not good for the president to have the letter because it would function as a kind of shock collar that the president could use anytime he wanted. Priebus said the president had the Department of Justice by the throat.
Priebus and Bannon told Sessions that they would attempt to get the letter back from the president with a notation that he was not accepting Sessions' resignation.
May 19, 2017, the president left for a trip to the Middle East.
Hicks recalled that on President's flight from Saudi Arabia to Tel Aviv, the president pulled Sessions' resignation letter from his pocket. He showed it to a group of senior advisors and asked them what he should do about it.
During the trip, Priebus asked about the resignation letter so he could return it to Sessions, but the president told him that the letter was back at the White House.
It was not until May 30, 3 days after the president returned from the trip, that the president returned the letter to Sessions with a notation saying,
"Not accepted."
In the days following the special counsel's appointment, the president repeatedly
told advisors that the special counsel Mueller had conflicts of interest, that Mueller had interviewed for the FBI director position shortly before being appointed as special counsel, that he had worked for a law firm that represented people affiliated with the president, and that Mueller had disputed certain fees relating to his membership in a Trump golf course in Northern Virginia.
Bannon recalled telling the president that the purported conflicts were ridiculous and that none of them were as real or could come close to justifying precluding Mueller from serving as special counsel.
May 23, 2017, McGahn told the president that he would not call Rosenstein about Mueller, that he would suggest that the president not make such a call either. McGahn advised that the president could discuss the issue with his personal attorney, but it would look like still trying to meddle in the investigation, and knocking out Mueller would be another fact used to claim obstruction of justice.
There you go.
McGahn told the president that his biggest exposure was not his act of firing Comey, but his other contacts and calls and his ask regarding Flynn.
Saturday, June 17, 2017, the president called McGahn and directed him to have the special counsel Mueller removed.
The president called McGahn at home twice, and on both occasions directed him to call Rosenstein and say that Mueller had conflicts that precluded him from serving as special counsel. On the first call, he said,
"You got to do this. You got to call Rod."
McGahn said he told the president that he would see what he could do. McGahn was perturbed by the call and did not intend to act on the request. He and other advisors believed the asserted conflicts were silly and not real, and they had previously communicated that view to the president. McGahn also had made clear to the president that the White House counsel's office should not be involved in any effort to press the issue of conflicts. When the president called McGahn a second time to follow up on the order to call the Department of Justice, McGahn recalled that the president was more direct.
"Call Rod. Tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be the special counsel. Mueller has to go. Call me back when you do it."
That evening, McGahn called both Priebus and Bannon and told them that he intended to resign.
McGahn said that the president had asked him to do crazy shit.
That's what it said, crazy shit.
But Priebus thought McGahn did not tell him the specifics of the president's request because McGahn was trying to protect Priebus from what he did not need to know.
On June 13, 2017, Sanders asked the president for guidance on how to respond to press inquiries about the possible firing of the special counsel. The president dictated an answer, which Sanders delivered, saying that while the president has every right to fire the special counsel, he has no intention to do so.
June 15 and 16, the president issued a series of tweets acknowledging the existence of the obstruction investigation and criticizing it.
They made up a phony collusion with the Russian story, found zero proof, so now they go for obstruction of justice on the phony story. Nice. You are witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people. Crooked H destroyed phones with a hammer, bleached emails, and had husband meet with AG days before she was cleared. And they talk about obstruction? After 7 months of investigations and committee hearings about my collusion with the Russians, nobody has been able to show any proof. Sad.
Sad.
I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt!
Act 4.
Good point.
President Trump.
Little intermission here.
Little intermission here. We'll get into President Trump attempts to curtail the special investigation. What do y'all think of this shit? I'm telling you, when you stop to look at this, you know,
you cannot make it up.
No, you can't, and that's why I wanted to play this, was because, you know, like I said, no, you know, most of us, 90% of us don't have time to go read the Mueller report. And we hear talking heads on TV always discussing this, that, and the other, but it is something else to hear the words coming right out of these actors' mouth, right out of the Mueller report, and you know, all the way from the firing of Flynn or the investigation into Flynn, and firing Comey, or having Dan McGahn fire.
Well, my friend John, is that where we are right now? Are we at comments on where we've gone so far?
What, in the show? Or
I'm just curious. Is that what we're doing?
No, we're gonna.
Because I've been taking notes the whole time.
Well, speak away, buddy. We got an intermission here before we start Act 4.
This is all about fucking ratings, like everything else he's ever done. This man had no response that wasn't just ratings.
No, it's all about him.
On optics,
Everything.
and everyone even told him that.
Yes, everything is about Donnie. It's been that way about everything ever since he came in. As a matter of fact, I'll go a step farther. It's been that way his whole life. This is not new for Donnie. Yeah. Acting this way is not a special thing, or all of a sudden Donnie got fired. This is the way Donnie's thought all of his life. This is the way his father taught him.
Nothing but optics. And then he goes to the crazy. Russia was over. How the hell does anybody in their right mind look at what they've done? And come on, let's be honest. Yeah. He did it.
He did it.
Colluded with Russia.
They did indeed.
He invited them. And then you say Russia's over that quick? Do you really honestly think we're that fucking
It's
dumb?
not over. We saw a display of it just this weekend. We saw it at the G20.
Hell did.
It's not over. He's bowing down to Putin. He's sitting up there everybody else is waving. He's sitting there and trying to shake hands with Mohammed bin Slice and Dice.
Which was another thing that he stated. Well, what they wrote into this was his whole thing about the problem with all of this. It was truncating his ability to negotiate with Russia. It is always the art of the deal with him, which he didn't even fucking write.
No, he didn't write that book. And he doesn't believe in the book. It's all a charade. Everything about this man is a constant con job. Everything about it, from anything he pulls out of his mouth, anything he tweets out at the moment, notice, it's all about the illusion of the whole meeting with Kim Jong-un pulled out of his ass just for a photo op, baby. He just doesn't understand that he's the one. Yeah, he's the one on the losing end of this shit. We have now elevated Kim Jong-un onto the world stage. Now he can start. He's a nuclear power.
Where that little fucking round-headed fuck should never be. He's a goddamn killer. He kills his own people. He starves them to death, and he kills his own fucking relatives.
His own family.
But our boy,
that's him. That's who Donnie's
else.
boys are. That's who his mentors are. That's what I mean. We see it in the news. He went to the G20. Did anybody hear anything else about anybody else besides Putin, Slice and Dice, and Un? No, Un wasn't even there.
No.
And there's more story about him. So that's
the funniest thing I seen was them laughing. Don't you interfere with us this year?
Ain't that some shit?
Don't even. No, let's not even get started on that.
That right there.
We'll go down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, right there. That's throwing his finger right in our face, daring us to do it.
That's grounds for impeachment right now.
One little thing I want to point out: did y'all see the little video going around of little Ivanka trying to stand there amongst world leaders and act like she's important?
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, and the boy, and the boy on top of it.
Yep. Just trying to, look at me. I'm standing next to Macron. Makes her important.
It wasn't Merkel. It was the other woman that was there, and she was going.
Yeah,
she was just so seething underneath it that she had to
see
face
the
a
roll
smile.
in her eyes. I can't think of her name. I should have wrote it down. Damn it.
It begins with an M.
The world,
but not Merkel.
In general hates us now, and they are making it so much worse.
Yeah. Every day. There's nothing diplomatic about this guy. This is not for America. He didn't go to the G20 he dragged his Ivanka and Jarrett and all that because just like the trip to England, it's a photo op. It's all an illusion. Look at the first family in London. Now they're at the G20 in Japan. It's the illusion. His walking across the freaking border in North Carolina. North Korea. Jesus, how'd I get North Carolina?
I sure do.
Sometimes they're the same thing. But, with all of that though, it's as if there is nothing else. Getting back to this play, Sarah Sanders coming out and saying Well, it was the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was a fucking lie.
It was a bald-faced lie.
And then she had to face that
goddamn lie.
Yeah.
She had to face it in front of the Congress.
And then what did she tweet out today or yesterday, when she left the White House? Walking out with my head held high. Are you shitting me?
I don't know.
You should be dragging your nose on the dirt.
Covered in Donnie's shit, because that's where your head's been the whole time. She
turned out to be nothing but a liar, and made the press secretary's job a farce. There were no press briefs. They just quit doing them because they knew they couldn't come out there without lying through their teeth. Every time she walked up there.
Same thing with Rosenstein. He just made him his bitch.
Yeah, he's trying to blame everything on firing there.
Why I'm firing Comey. Yeah. That's Rosenstein being his bitch.
Because of what Rosenstein said. But you made him say it. Well, that's besides the point. And that's what put Rosenstein in a bad position. But that's, he stood there right behind Barr and didn't say a damn thing. So Rosenstein, in my book, put him on the witness stand with the rest of them. Yeah.
He's the exact same as his daughter.
He was just as complicit in this shit of trying to get rid of Comey and everything else. It was a conspiracy. You could see that in the Oval Office. Well, it's not going to call it a conspiracy because it's just his advisors.
When Barr read that first time out and Rosenstein was standing behind him, if you watch people's eyes, you can tell when they're surprised. And so when Barr was speaking, his eyes went that big and back down a couple of times, like,
yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, that has been pointed out, too, some of his facial movements during that Barr talk. Yeah, because Rosenstein was standing there behind him, knowing that Barr was sitting there shelling out bullshit, selling a lie.
All of that coming because they have the guy in front of them who is the consummate liar. Him coming out in a fucking press interview for the world to watch and saying there was no good time to fire Comey.
Yeah.
Russia is over now.
Yeah. And
lying sack of shit.
And standing in the Oval Office with Kislyak, telling the Russians right there in the Oval Office, I got rid of the trouble now. Don't worry about it, boys. We're all on a roll here now. Tell Pootie boy it's all.
Tell my handler. Yeah. Tell my daddy Dom exactly that it's okay now. Don't worry about nothing.
Don't worry about it. The plan goes forward. And they're not done. They showed us that this weekend. They're not done. They still
they're not
going on.
They're
right coming back in 2020.
The other thing that came out. Yeah. Jeff Sessions goes to him, and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, "I'm fucked."
Yep, and he was. Let's continue on with Act 4.
All a lie.
And continue the proof that he's fucked. He just doesn't know it yet. It's coming, baby. Every day, every dog has his day. Day of reckoning's coming.
Everything this weekend. Everything this weekend.
That brings me to another question. How important is it that Sessions agreed? Yeah, you're fucked. If you need my resignation, you got it, buddy.
Carried it around in his pocket forever like he's holding it right over his head, too. Shit.
Yep.
I would have put out the copy I left back at the office and make him look like an idiot. Oh, Jeff's coming back, though. He's coming back.
And from there, they brought up, right after that, the Access Hollywood tape.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. He was just as... when you piss yourself and you're standing there in front of everybody...
everybody can see it.
Be embarrassed. Or back to the original thing that I said, the emperor has no clothes, be embarrassed.
Yeah.
No, not him.
No.
Access Hollywood comes up and he said, "Oh, that was me then." That's still you now, motherfucker.
Yeah, ain't nothing changed. That's still him. All right, let's go ahead and continue on with Act 4. President Trump attempted to curtail the special counsel investigation, another act of obstruction of justice. Let's go.
June 19, 2017, after some small talk, the president brought up Sessions and criticized his recusal from the Russia investigation. The president told former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski that Sessions was weak and that if the president had known about the likelihood of recusal in advance, he would not have appointed Sessions.
The president then asked Lewandowski to deliver a message to Sessions and said, "Write this down."
This was the first time the president had asked Lewandowski to take dictation, and Lewandowski wrote as fast as possible to make sure he captured the content correctly.
The president directed that Sessions should give a speech publicly announcing, "I know that I recuse myself from certain things having to do with specific areas, but our POTUS is being treated very unfairly. He shouldn't have a special prosecutor / counsel because he hasn't done anything wrong. I was on the campaign with him for 9 months. There were no Russians involved with him. I know it for a fact because I was there. He didn't do anything wrong except he ran the greatest campaign in American history. Now, a group of people want to subvert the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to meet with the special prosecutor to explain this is very unfair, and let the special prosecutor move forward with investigating election meddling for future elections so that nothing can happen in future elections.
Within hours of the president's meeting, Lewandowski, the president gave an unplanned interview to the New York Times in which he criticized Sessions' decision to recuse from the Russia investigation.
Sessions should never have recused himself. And if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me before he took the job, and I would have picked somebody else. Sessions' recusal, the president said, was very unfair to the president. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word to the president.
Hope Hicks, who was present for the interview, recalled trying to throw herself between the reporters and the president to stop parts of the interview. But the president loved the interview.
July 22, 2017. The president told Priebus to say to Sessions that he needed a letter of resignation on his desk immediately, and that Sessions had no choice but must immediately resign.
Priebus replied that if they fired Sessions, they would never get a new attorney general confirmed, and that the Department of Justice and Congress would turn their backs on the president.
But the president suggested he could make a recess appointment to replace Sessions.
Priebus believed that the president's request was a problem, so he called McGahn and asked for advice, explaining that he did not want to pull the trigger on something that was all wrong.
That afternoon, the president followed up with Priebus about demanding Sessions' resignation.
Did you get it? Are you working on it?
Priebus believed that his job depended on whether he followed the order to remove Sessions, although the president did not directly say so.
July 25, the president tweeted,
Attorney General Jeff Sessions has taken a very weak position on Hillary Clinton crimes. Where are emails and DNC server and intel leakers?
The following day,
why didn't AG Sessions replace acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, a Comey friend who was in charge of the Clinton investigation?
In light of the president's frequent public attacks, Sessions prepared another resignation letter. And for the rest of the year, carried it with him in his pocket every time he went to the White House.
Act 5. President Trump prevented the public disclosure of evidence. We begin before the election.
June 3, 2016. Shortly after his phone call with Russian pop star Emin Agalarov, Rob Goldstone, a New York publicist, emailed Trump Jr.
Emin just called and asked me to contact you with something very interesting. The Crown Prosecutor of Russia met with his father, Aris, this morning, and in their meeting offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia, and would be very useful to your father. This is obviously very high-level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump, helped along by Aris and Emin. What do you think is the best way to handle this information? And would you be able to speak to Emin about it directly? I can also send this info to your father via Rona, but it's ultra-sensitive, so I wanted to send it to you first.
Within minutes of this email, Trump Jr. responded, emailing back,
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. I'm on the road at the moment, but perhaps I just speak to Emin first. It seems we have some time, and if it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer. Could we do a call first thing next week when I'm back?
Goldstone conveyed Trump Jr.'s interest to Emin Agalarov, emailing that Trump Jr.
wants to speak personally on the issue.
We jump ahead now a year later, July 7, 2017. Trump is now president.
The following week, the president departed on an overseas trip for the G20 summit in Hamburg, Germany, accompanied by Hope Hicks, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka Trump, among others. While the president was overseas, Hicks learned that the New York Times was working on a story about the June 9 meeting.
The next day, Hicks told the president about the story, and he directed her not to comment. Hicks thought the president's reaction was odd because he usually considered not responding to the press to be the ultimate sin. Later that day, Hicks and the president again spoke about the story. Hicks recalled that the president asked her what the meeting had been about, and she said that she had been told the meeting was about Russian adoption.
Then just say that.
On the flight home, Hicks obtained a draft statement about the meeting to be released by Trump Jr. and brought it to the president. The draft statement began with a reference to the information that was offered by the Russians in setting up the meeting.
I was asked to have a meeting by an acquaintance I knew from the 2013 Miss Universe pageant with an individual who I was told might have information helpful to the campaign.
Hicks again wanted to disclose the entire story, but the president directed that the statement not be issued because it said too much. The president told Hicks to say
only that Trump Jr. took a brief meeting and it was about Russian adoption.
Hicks texted Trump Jr. a revised statement that read,
"It was a short meeting. I asked Jared and Paul to stop by. We discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children that was active and popular with American families years ago and since ended by the Russian government. But it was not a campaign issue at that time, and there was no follow-up."
Are you okay with this? Attribute it to you?
Trump Jr. responded by text message that he wanted to add the word primarily before discussed so that the statement would read, "We primarily discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children." Trump Jr. texted that he wanted to change because they started with some Hillary thing, which was BS, and some other nonsense, which we shot down fast.
I think that's right, too, but boss man worried it invites a lot of questions. Ultimately defer to you and your attorney on that word because I know it's important, and I think the mention of a campaign issue, it adds something to it in case we have to go further.
If I don't have it in there, it appears as though I'm lying later when they inevitably leak something.
Trump Jr.'s statement, adding the word primarily and making other minor additions, was then provided to the New York Times. The full statement provided to the Times stated,
"It was a short introductory meeting. I asked Jared and Paul to stop by. We primarily discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children that was active and popular with American families years ago and since ended by the Russian government. But it was not a campaign issue at the time, and there was no follow-up. I was asked to attend the meeting by an acquaintance, but I was not told the name of the person I would be meeting with beforehand."
The statement did not mention the offer of derogatory information about Clinton or any discussion of the Magnitsky Act or U.S. sanctions, which were the principal subjects of the meeting.
Short while later, while still on Air Force One, Hicks learned that Priebus knew about the emails, which further convinced her that additional information about June 9 meeting would leak and the White House should be proactive and get in front of the story. Hicks recalled again going to the president to urge him that they should be fully transparent about the June 9 meeting, but he again said no, telling Hicks,
"You've given a statement, we're done."
Later on the flight home, Hicks went to the president's cabin, where the president was on the phone with one of his personal attorneys. At one point, the president handed the phone to Hicks.
The attorney told Hicks that he had been working with Circa News on a separate story and that she should not talk to the New York Times. On July 19, 2017, the president met with reporters for the New York Times. In addition to criticizing Sessions in the Times interview, the president addressed the June 9, 2016 meeting and said he
didn't know anything about the meeting at the time. As I've said, most other people, when they call up and say, "By the way, we have information on your opponent," I think most politicians I was just with a lot of people. They said, who wouldn't take a meeting like that?
In other words, what American politician wouldn't take compromising information on their opponent from a foreign power, in this case, one whose hostility to America dates back 71 years? Back to the report.
After consulting with the president on the issue, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders told the media,
the president certainly didn't dictate the statement, but that he weighed in, offered suggestions like any father would do.
Yeah.
Several months later, the president's personal counsel stated in a private communication to the special counsel's office that the president dictated a short but accurate response to the New York Times article on behalf of his son, Donald Trump Jr.
Act 6. President Trump wanted Attorney General Sessions to unrecuse from the Russia investigation.
Unrecuse.
At some point after the appointment of the special counsel, Robert Mueller, the president called Sessions at home and asked if Sessions would unrecuse himself. According to Sessions,
the president asked him to reverse his recusal so that Sessions could direct the Department of Justice to investigate and prosecute Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that wouldn't look
and the gist of the conversation was that the president wanted Sessions to unrecuse from all of it, including the special counsel's Russia investigation.
Sessions listened, but did not respond, and he did not reverse his recusal order or order an investigation of Clinton.
December 6, 2017, 5 days after Flynn pleaded guilty to lying about his contacts with the Russian government, the president asked to speak with Sessions in the Oval Office at the end of a cabinet meeting. During that Oval Office meeting, which Rob Porter, White House staff secretary, attended,
the president again suggested that Sessions should unrecuse.
Which Porter linked to taking back supervision of the Russia investigation and directing an investigation of Hillary Clinton. According to contemporaneous notes taken by Porter, the president said,
I don't know. If you could unrecuse yourself, you'd be a hero. Not telling you to do anything. Dershowitz says POTUS can get involved, can order Attorney General to investigate. I don't want to get involved. I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to do anything or direct you to do anything. I just want to be treated fairly.
We are taking steps. Whole new leadership team, professionals will operate according to the law. Sessions also said, I never saw anything that was improper.
Which Porter thought was noteworthy because it did not fit with the previous discussion about Clinton.
At the end of December, the president told the New York Times,
it was too bad that Sessions had recused himself from the Russia investigation.
When asked about whether Holder had been a more loyal attorney general to President Obama than Sessions was to him, the president said,
I don't want to get into loyalty, but I will tell you that I will say this. Holder protected President Obama, totally protected him. When you look at the things that they did, and Holder protected the president. And I have great respect for that, I'll be honest.
Later, in January, the president brought up the idea of replacing Sessions and told Porter that he wanted to, quote, clean house, unquote, at the Department of Justice. In a meeting in the White House residence on January 27, 2018, Porter recalled that
the president talked about the great attorneys he had had in the past with successful win records, such as Roy Cohn and Jay Goldberg, and said that one of his biggest failings as president was that he had not surrounded himself with good attorneys, citing Sessions as an example. The president raised Sessions' recusal and brought up and criticized the special counsel's investigation.
August 1, 2018, the president tweeted that
Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now.
August 23, 2018, the president publicly criticized Sessions in a press interview and suggested that prosecutions at the Department of Justice were politically motivated because Paul Manafort had been prosecuted, but Democrats had not.
I put in an attorney general that never took control of the Justice Department, Jeff Sessions.
That day, Sessions issued a press statement.
I took control of the Department of Justice the day I was sworn in. While I am Attorney General, the actions of the Department of Justice will not be improperly influenced by political considerations.
The next day, the president tweeted a response.
Department of Justice will not be improperly influenced by political considerations. Jeff, this is great. What everyone wants. So look into all of the corruption on the other side, including deleted emails, Comey lies and leaks, Mueller conflicts, McCabe, Stroke, Page, or FISA abuse, Christopher Steele and his phony and corrupt dossier, the Clinton Foundation, illegal surveillance of Trump campaign, Russian collusion by Dems, and so much more. Open up the papers and documents without redaction. Come on, Jeff, you can do it. The country is waiting.
In early July 2017, the president asked Staff Secretary Rob Porter what he thought of Associate Attorney General Rachel Brand. Porter recalled that
the president asked him if Brand was good, tough, and on the team. The president also asked if Porter thought Brand was interested in being responsible for the special counsel's investigation and whether she would want to be Attorney General one day. Because Porter knew Brand, the president asked him to sound her out about taking responsibility for the investigation and being Attorney General. Keep in touch with your friend.
Act 7. President Trump directed White House counsel Don McGahn to create false documents that covered up the truth from investigators.
There you go. Well, there's 3 more acts of obstruction. And
oh, that's the one that kicks my ass, though. That one, the second act is the second 3 acts
meeting
are the best.
Yeah, the 5th, the Act 5 is about the meeting.
Yeah.
You know, that right there, and I've always said this ever since we found out about it. There's your collusion right there. I don't give a shit what you said.
It's all these fucking mafia moments.
Yes, exactly.
Guilty as charged.
Yes, that's the way this is all playing out, like it's some mafia movie or some shit when you listen to this crap. You know, the discussions that were had behind the scenes over what they should do or what they should say, all of that comes out in the Mueller report, and Mueller is going to be there on July 17th. We're going to see this all again, baby. It's all going to be out again. But that's what
I don't know about that, John. I believe that the man's just going to sit there and say it's in the report. I don't think we're going to see much from Bob Mueller. I really don't.
He's going to have to answer the questions that are put to him. And just even if he reads straight from the report, it's a verbalization of that. The same thing that I think that this show is so important about is because the people don't have time to read the book. Maybe they're not seeing all of the news.
Yeah, but when you put a human voice behind it.
Yeah, that's right. It
changes. Inflection.
When he was talking about what people didn't need to know, I was listening to that in the play, and I realized it's the same fucking thing as last week. It's none of your business.
Oh, that's what he thinks. Yeah. Somebody asked him, what are you going to talk about? It's none of your business.
Mafia moments.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about some things. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Just like Nixon said.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. You know, we've gone now through from the first hints in the investigation into the Flynn situation with the Russians, through the firing of, or the attempted firing of the firing of Comey, the attempted firing of Mueller, and it goes on.
And down to the attempted forcing out of Jeff Sessions.
Yes. Oh, man. How you like that? Jeff had to write another letter because Donnie wouldn't give him the other letter back.
Exactly. And carried that letter around.
Yeah. Ready to give it to him anytime.
To make when you want to resign and nobody will take it.
I don't know how Jeff put up with it as long as he did, because Donnie was after his ass every other day, you know, trashing him.
The man was he wasn't a crook.
No,
he was just trying to protect his ass.
Yeah,
but no, another, and I hate saying this because it sounds like Trump, but Jeff Sessions was weak. He. You know, he knew, well, he was weak. He was smart, too.
He was smart.
He knew that if he jumped into any kind of Russia investigation, he was just as fucked as the next guy.
That's right. And by recusing himself, he removed himself from that. You know, and
he was politics smart.
That's the smartest move.
What was that, Bud Man?
Politics smart.
Yeah. And he's trying to come back. He'll be back in Alabama. He's going to run again. He's going to go up against Roy Moore.
Holy fuck. Well, there you go. And
You
what
got
the
a
hell's he
choice.
going against? You get
You got a
that.
choice. Jeff Sessions or Roy Moore.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, he flushed the PP tape. I wonder, Rick.
I would take Sessions over the other one any day.
Yeah, but on the other side of that, what I said at first, you cannot write this shit.
No.
It's almost like it's out of a movie. Has anybody
choices?
noticed the irony of John Lithgow, and he plays that Lord Farquaad in the Shrek movie, kicking the fairy tale creatures out?
I was honestly thinking that the entire way through. It's like, God, this is just the bad guy from Shrek.
Yes.
Really? Oh, my God.
Man, there we go.
Wrong. He's an incredible actor. Don't do that.
Yeah, he's good. He's playing Donnie very well.
And you know, Joel Gray is starting. You got to remember, Joel Gray is very old now.
Yeah.
And he's
What is
still
that, an
he is
ageism
putting
thing?
Jeff Sessions out there as just the bitch he is.
Well, let's go ahead because it's getting late and we got to get all this done. So we're at Act 7.
Do you really think we're going to finish? Because look, we're 50 minutes in. It's an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh.
I think we can keep going on the Mafia Act and discuss it and then call it a night.
And take up second act on Monday.
We could.
We'll do the last. Well, there's 4 left.
Yeah, there's 3 acts left. No, well, 7, 8, 9.
No, it's
4 acts. 4 acts left, and
a little
ending thing that we want y'all to see. So yeah, it's still a bit late. So, all right, let's pause it here. We're at Act 7.
Write down 4727 on your thing.
47.
In the nose.
47.
27.
27. Is that the count on the?
Yeah, on the ticker. So if we do start this up another time, we can pick up right where we left off.
Okay. So then that way we can go ahead and spend the rest of the evening talking about all the bullshit
Well,
we just
We got a lot of people wanting more.
Good, but if we want to go on about that act, I'm good.
You got a lot of people wanting more. Maybe do one more.
You want to say one more? I'm up for it. Let's do Act 7.
Act 7?
I'll tell you what I'm really impressed with a whole lot is I have been sitting here watching the discussions going on here on the chat between people, and I always point this out. That's the part I love. I love seeing the discussion, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube, it doesn't matter, when people are responding to each other and having that discussion. I just love it, just pointing that out. We're a family, baby. I love it.
Yep.
Is there a way we?
While you guys are going into bed, so I will watch 7, the end of this tomorrow, and we'll pick it up when we pick it up.
All right, Leo.
Good night, Leo.
Computer smart. Can we share this on Facebook?
Oh yeah. You should be able to share it on Facebook or on share it off of YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're talking about the original video we're watching it from was the source we watched it live, which was the Young Turks.
Yeah.
And so that's the original link. Yeah. But I mean, you can always share the live stream too if people want it.
But I can share that if I want to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well, I'm not real computer smart.
No, don't worry about it. No, yeah, you can totally share it.
Oh yeah, you know as much as me.
People need to hear this instead of trying to read it.
It does. That's why I wanted to do this, was because of the fact that I have the book, and with my lot the way it is, I have to go in spurts, and it's very difficult to get through. And put yourself back in the frame of mind that you were in when you last left off to get up where you were, that you want to go in the book. And when this came out, it solidified the 10 acts of obstruction that are in the Mueller report. So when Donnie says there's no
so much better because it gets to the heart of the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So every time
to the verbal thing of the Mueller report.
Yeah.
Listen to that crap.
Yeah, it's difficult to live. This gets to the meat of the matter. These are the 10 counts, and at the end, they're going to talk about the obstruction. I mean, the collusion part of it. That's how come I was really excited to get this out in front of everybody, because I think it's important, because you hear him out all the time. No obstruction, no obstruction. Yeah, kiss my ass. There's 10 cases of it. So Congress needs to get off their ass and impeach the son of a bitch. Let's go on to Act 7.
Okay.
All righty.
I'm ready.
Here.
Here we go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
January 26, 2018, the president's personal counsel called McGahn's attorney and said that the president wanted McGahn to
put out a statement denying that he had been asked to fire the special counsel and that he had threatened to quit in protest.
McGahn's attorney spoke with McGahn about that request and then called the president's personal counsel to relay that McGahn would not make such a statement.
The next day, the president complained about the Times article to Rob Porter.
The president told Porter that the article was bullshit, and he had not sought to terminate the special counsel. The president said that McGahn leaked to the media to make himself look good. The president then directed Porter to tell McGahn to create a record to make clear that the president never directed McGahn to fire the special counsel.
Porter thought the matter should be handled by the White House Communications Office.
But the president said he wanted McGahn to write a letter for the file for our records and wanted something beyond a press statement to demonstrate that the reporting was inaccurate. The president referred to McGahn as a lying bastard and said that he wanted a record from him. If he doesn't write a letter, then maybe I'll have to get rid of him.
Later that day, Porter spoke to McGahn to deliver the president's message. Porter told McGahn that he had to write a letter to dispute that he was ever ordered to terminate the special counsel.
McGahn shrugged off the request, explaining that the media reports were true. McGahn told Porter that the president had been insistent on firing the special counsel, and that McGahn had planned to resign rather than carry out the order, although he had not personally told the president he intended to quit.
February 6, 2018, the president began the Oval Office meeting by telling McGahn that
the New York Times story did not look good, and McGahn needed to correct it. I never said to fire Mueller. I never said fire. This story doesn't look good. You need to correct this. You're the White House counsel.
McGahn acknowledged that he had not told the president directly that he planned to resign, but said that the story was otherwise accurate.
Did I say the word fire?
What you said is, call Rod Rosenstein, tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be the special counsel.
I never said that. The president said he merely wanted McGahn to raise the conflicts issue with Rosenstein and leave it to him to decide what to do.
McGahn told the president he did not understand the conversation that way, and instead had heard, call Rod, there are conflicts, Mueller has to go.
The president asked McGahn whether he would do a correction.
No.
Correct.
The president also asked McGahn in the meeting why he had told special counsel's office investigators that the president had told him to have the special counsel removed.
McGahn responded that he had to, and that his conversations with the president were not protected by attorney-client privilege.
What about these notes? Why do you take notes? Lawyers don't take notes. I never had a lawyer who took notes.
This is quotes.
McGahn responded that he keeps notes because he is a real lawyer.
There you go. You can't beat this shit.
And explained that notes create a record and are not a bad thing.
I've had a lot of great lawyers, like Roy Cohn.
Oh, yeah.
He did not take notes.
He's a crook.
Act 8. President Trump tried to discourage campaign chairman Paul Manafort and National Security Advisor Michael Flynn from cooperating with the Mueller investigation.
the president's actions towards witnesses in the special counsel's investigation would qualify as obstructive if they had the natural tendency to prevent particular witnesses from testifying truthfully, or otherwise would have the probable effect of influencing, delaying, or preventing their testimony to law enforcement. With regard to Flynn, the president sent private and public messages to Flynn encouraging him to stay strong and conveying that the president still cared about him before he began to cooperate with the government. Yeah. With respect to Paul Manafort, there is evidence that the president's actions had the potential to influence Manafort's decision whether to cooperate with the government.
Following Flynn's resignation, the president made positive public comments about Flynn, describing him as a wonderful man, a fine person, and a very good person. The president also privately asked advisors to pass messages to Flynn, conveying that the president still cared about him and encouraging him to stay strong.
February 2017, Christi, describing a phone conversation between Jared Kushner and Flynn the day after Flynn was fired, where Kushner said,
"You know the president respects you. The president cares about you. I'll get the president to send out a positive tweet about you later."
And the president nodded his assent to Kushner's comment, promising a tweet.
I'll put out a nice
December
tweet.
1, 2017, Flynn pleaded guilty to making false statements pursuant to a cooperation agreement.
The next day, the president told the press that he was not concerned about what Flynn might tell the special counsel.
In response to a question about whether the president still stood behind Flynn,
we'll see what happens.
Over the next several days, the president made public statements expressing sympathy for Flynn and indicating he had not been treated fairly. On December 15th, 2017, the president responded to a press inquiry about whether he was considering a pardon for Flynn.
I don't want to talk about pardons for Michael Flynn yet. We'll see what happens. Let's see. I can say this. When you look at what's gone on with the FBI and with the Justice Department, people are very, very angry.
January 2018, Paul Manafort, former campaign manager, told Rick Gates, political consultant, that he had talked to the president's personal counsel and they were going to take care of us. Manafort told Gates it was stupid to plead, saying that he had been in touch with the president's personal counsel and repeating that they should sit tight and will be taken care of.
Gates asked Manafort outright if anyone mentioned pardons.
Manafort said no one used that word.
June 15, 2018, in public, the president made statements criticizing the prosecution and suggesting that Manafort was being treated unfairly. On June 15, 2018, before a scheduled court hearing that day on whether Manafort's bail should be revoked based on new charges that Manafort had tampered with witnesses while out on bail, the president told the press,
I feel badly about a lot of them because I think a lot of it is very unfair. I mean, I look at some of them where they go back 12 years, like Manafort has nothing to do with our campaign. But I feel, so I tell you, I feel a little badly about it. They went back 12 years to get things that he did 12 years ago. I feel badly for some people because they've gone back 12 years to find things about somebody, and I don't think it's right.
In response to a question about whether he was considering a pardon for Manafort or other individuals involved in the special counsel's investigation.
I don't want to talk about that. No, I don't want to talk about that. But look, I do want to see people treated fairly. That's what it's all about.
June 15, 2018, immediately following the revocation of Manafort's bail, the president's personal lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, gave a series of interviews in which he raised the possibility of a pardon for Manafort.
I guess I should clarify this once and for all. The president has issued no pardons in this investigation. The president is not going to issue pardons in this investigation. When it's over, hey, he's the president of the United States. He retains his pardon power. Nobody's taken that away from him.
Giuliani said the comments only acknowledged that
an individual involved in the investigation would not be excluded from a pardon if, in fact, the president and his advisors come to the conclusion that you have been treated unfairly.
August 17, 2018, as jury deliberations continued, the president commented on the trial from the South Lawn of the White House. When asked whether he would pardon Manafort if he was convicted.
I don't talk about that now. I don't talk about that. I think the whole Manafort trial is very sad when you look at what's going on there. I think it's a very sad day for our country. He worked for me for a very short period of time, but you know what? He happens to be a very good person, and I think it's very sad what they've done to Paul Manafort.
In a Fox News interview on August 22, 2018, the president said,
Cohen makes a better deal when he uses me, like everyone else. And one of the reasons I respect Paul Manafort so much is he went through that trial. You know, they make up stories. People make up stories. This whole thing about flipping, they call it. I know all about flipping. The president said that flipping was not fair and almost ought to be outlawed.
In an interview on November 28, 2018, the president suggested that it was very brave that Manafort did not flip.
If you're told the truth, you go to jail. You know, this flipping stuff is terrible. You flip and you lie and you get... The prosecutors will tell you that 99% of the time they can get people to flip. It's rare that they can't, but I had 3 people, Manafort, Jerome Corsi, I don't know Corsi, but he refuses to say what they demanded. Manafort, Corsi.
Redacted.
Redacted. Who's
It's actually very brave.
In response to a question about a potential pardon for Manafort...
It was never discussed, but I wouldn't take it off the table. Why would I take it off the table?
Act 9. President Trump encouraged Michael Cohen to lie about Trump Tower Moscow.
According to Michael Cohen, personal lawyer to Donald Trump, in approximately September 2015, he obtained internal approval from Trump to negotiate on behalf of the Trump Organization to have a Russian corporation build a tower in Moscow that licensed the Trump name and brand. Cohen thereafter had numerous brief conversations with Trump about the project.
Cohen recalled that Trump wanted to be updated on any developments with Trump Tower Moscow, and on several occasions brought the project up with Cohen to ask what was happening with it. Trump signed a letter of intent for the project that specified highly lucrative terms for the Trump Organization.
November 3, 2015, the day after the Trump Organization transmitted the letter of intent, Felix Sater,
Russian-American mobster, convicted felon, and real estate developer,
emailed Cohen suggesting that the Trump Tower project could be used to increase candidate Trump's chances at being elected.
Buddy, our boy can become president of the USA, and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin's teams to buy in on this. I will manage the process. Michael, Putin gets on stage with Donald for a ribbon cutting for Trump Moscow, and Donald owns the Republican nomination and possibly beats Hillary, and our boy is in. We will manage this process better than anyone. You and I will get Donald and Vladimir on stage together very shortly. That's the game changer.
Sater and Cohen continued to discuss a trip to Moscow. On May 4th, 2016, Sater followed up.
I had a chat with Moscow. Assuming the trip does happen, the question is before or after the convention. I said I believe, but don't know for sure, that it's probably after the convention. Obviously, the pre-meeting trip, you only, can happen anytime you want, but the 2 big guys were the question.
My trip before Cleveland, Trump once he becomes the nominee after the convention.
May 5, 2016, Sater followed up with a text that Cohen thought he probably read to Trump.
Peskov would like to invite you as his guest to the St. Petersburg Forum, which is Russia's Davos. It's June 16 to 19. He wants to meet there with you and possibly introduce you to either Putin or Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. This is perfect. The entire business class of Russia will be there as well. He said anything you want to discuss, including dates and subjects, are on the table to discuss.
Cohen recalled discussing the invitation with candidate Trump and saying that Putin or Medvedev might be there.
Trump said that he would be willing to travel to Moscow if Cohen could lock and load on the deal.
August 2017. Cohen recalled telling Jay Sekulow, the president's personal counsel, who did not have firsthand knowledge of the project, that there was more detail on Trump Tower Moscow that was not in the written statement to the Senate Intelligence Committee, including there were more communications with Russia and more communications with candidate Trump than the statement reflected. Cohen stated that Jay Sekulow responded,
"Oh.
Hey, Jay.
It was not necessary to elaborate or include those details because the project did not progress, and that Cohen should keep his statement short and tight, and the matter would soon come to an end. His client appreciated Cohen, that Cohen should stay on message and not contradict the president, that there was no need to muddy the water, and that it was time to move on.
September 17, 2018, this office submitted written questions to the president that included questions about the Trump Tower Moscow project and attached Cohen's written statement to Congress and the letter of intent signed by the president. Among other issues, the questions asked the president to describe the timing and substance of discussions he had with Cohen about the project, whether they discussed a potential trip to Russia, and whether the president at any time directed or suggested that discussions about the Trump Moscow project should cease, or whether the president was informed at any time that the project had been abandoned. November 20, 2018, the president submitted written responses that did not answer those questions about Trump Tower Moscow directly and did not provide any information about the timing of the candidates' discussions with Cohen about the project, or whether he participated in any discussions about the project being abandoned or no longer pursued. Instead, the president's answers stated in relevant part,
I had few conversations with Mr. Cohen on this subject. As I recall, they were brief and they were not memorable. I was not enthused about the proposal, and I do not recall any discussion of travel to Moscow in connection with it. I do not remember discussing it with anyone else at the Trump Organization, although it is possible. I do not recall being aware at the time of any communications between Mr. Cohen and Felix Sater and any Russian government official regarding the letter of intent.
November 29, after Cohen's guilty plea had become public, the president spoke to reporters about the Trump Tower Moscow project.
I decided not to do the project. I decided ultimately not to do it. There would have been nothing wrong if I did do it. If I did do it, there would have been nothing wrong. That was my business. It was an option that I decided not to do. I decided not to do it. The primary reason, I was focused on running for president. I was running my business while I was campaigning. There was a good chance that I wouldn't have won, in which case I would have gone back into the business.
We wish.
And why should I lose lots of opportunities?
The president also said that Cohen was
a weak person. And by being weak, unlike other people that you watch, he is a weak person. And what he's trying to do is get a reduced sentence. So he's lying about a project that everybody knew about. Even if Cohen was right, it doesn't matter, because I was allowed to do whatever I wanted during the campaign.
Act 10. President Trump tried to get longtime lawyer Michael Cohen not to cooperate with the investigation.
The evidence concerning this sequence of events could support an inference that the president used inducements in the form of positive messages in an effort to get Cohen not to cooperate, and then turned to attacks and intimidation to deter the provision of information or undermine Cohen's credibility once Cohen began cooperating.
Cohen said that the president's personal counsel also conveyed that as part of the joint defense agreement, Cohen was protected, which he would not be if he went rogue. Cohen recalled that Jay Sekulow, the president's personal counsel, reminded him that.
The president loves you and told him that if he stayed on message, the president has his back.
August 2017, Cohen said that his agenda in submitting the statement to Congress with false representations about the Trump Tower Moscow project was to minimize links between the project and the president, give the false impression that the project had ended before the first presidential primaries, and shut down further inquiry into Trump Tower Moscow, with the aim of limiting the ongoing Russia investigations. Cohen said he wanted to protect the president and be loyal to him by not contradicting anything the president had said. Cohen recalled he was concerned that if he told the truth about getting a response from the Kremlin or speaking to candidate Trump about travel to Russia to pursue the project, he would contradict the message that no connection existed between Trump and Russia. And he rationalized his decision to provide false testimony because the deal never happened.
Between August 18, 2017, when the statement was in an initial draft stage, and August 28, 2017, when the statement was submitted to Congress, phone records reflect that Cohen spoke with Jay Sekulow almost daily.
Cohen also recalled speaking with Jay Sekulow about pardons after the searches of his home and office had occurred, at a time when the media had reported that pardon discussions were occurring at the White House. Cohen told Sekulow he had been a loyal lawyer and servant, and he said that after the searches, he was in an uncomfortable position, and he wanted to know what was in it for him.
Cohen should stay on message. The investigation was a witch hunt, and everything would be fine.
February 13, 2018, Cohen released a statement to news organizations that stated,
"In a private transaction in 2016, I used my own personal funds to facilitate a payment of $130,000 to Stormy Daniels,
a porn star with whom Trump had an affair while his wife was in the hospital.
Neither the Trump Organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with Stormy Daniels, and neither reimbursed me for the payment either directly or indirectly."
In congressional testimony on February 27, 2019, Cohen testified
that he had discussed what to say about the payment with the president, and that the president had directed Cohen to say that the president was not knowledgeable of Cohen's actions in making the payment.
February 19, 2018, the day after the New York Times wrote a detailed story attributing the payment to Cohen and describing Cohen as the president's fixer, Cohen received a text message from Jay Sekulow, the president's personal counsel.
Client says thank you for what you do.
January 12, 2019, in an interview on Fox, the president was asked whether he was worried about Cohen's testimony.
In order to get his sentence reduced, Cohen says, "I have an idea. I'll tell. I'll give you some information on the president." Well, there is no information, but he should give information maybe on his father-in-law, because that's the one that people want to look at, because where does that money? That's the money in the family. And I guess he didn't want to talk about his father-in-law. He's trying to get his sentence reduced. So it's pretty sad. You know, it's weak, and it's very sad to watch a thing like that.
Yeah, it was.
10 acts of obstruction. Act 1. President Trump asked the FBI director to shut down the investigation into National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
Act 2, President Trump said he fired FBI Director Comey because of the Russia investigation.
Act 3, President Trump ordered White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Robert Mueller.
Act 4, President Trump attempted to curtail the special counsel investigation.
Act 5, President Trump prevented the public disclosure of evidence.
Act 6, President Trump wanted Attorney General Sessions to unrecuse from the Russia investigation.
Act 7, President Trump directed White House counsel Don McGahn to create false documents that covered up the truth from investigators.
Act 8, President Trump tried to discourage campaign chairman Paul Manafort and National Security Advisor Michael Flynn from cooperating with the Mueller investigation.
Act 9, President Trump encouraged his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, to lie about Trump Tower Moscow.
Act 10, President Trump tried to get Michael Cohen not to cooperate with the investigation.
10 acts of obstruction. Some people came to a different conclusion, like Attorney General Bill Barr.
The president took no act that, in fact, deprived the special counsel of the documents and witnesses necessary to complete his investigation. Apart from whether the acts were obstructive, this evidence of non-corrupt motives weighs heavily against any allegation that the president had a corrupt intent to obstruct the investigation.
Some people jumped on the fact that Mueller did not say that Trump was guilty. Let's look at exactly what he actually said. On May 29th, for the very first time, Robert Mueller spoke directly to the press.
The order appointing me special counsel authorized me to investigate actions that could obstruct the investigation. We conducted that investigation, and we kept the office of the acting Attorney General apprised of the progress of our work. As set forth in our report, after that investigation, if we had confidence that the President clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said that.
If we had confidence that the President clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said that. They did not have confidence. He was innocent.
But if they thought he was guilty and had committed any one or all 10 acts of obstruction, why didn't they charge him?
As if anticipating that very question, Mueller told the press in his statement,
under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. That is unconstitutional.
That is what he said.
Even if the charge is kept under seal and hidden from public view, that too is prohibited. The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we could consider.
if he wanted to charge the president, he couldn't. Mueller's hands were tied by regulation.
The department's written opinion explaining the policy against charging a president makes several important points that further informed our handling of the obstruction investigation. Those points are summarized in our report. I will describe two of them. First, the opinion explicitly permits the investigation of a sitting president because it is important to preserve evidence while memories are fresh and documents are available. Among other things, that evidence could be used if there were co-conspirators who could now be charged. And second, the opinion says that the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing.
Congress.
Fortunately, the Constitution provides for just such a situation.
Impeachment is the only constitutional process by which Congress can bring charges.
Treason, bribery, or other high crimes or misdemeanors.
Against a president, a vice president, and all civil officers of the United States.
It's a charging process, like an indictment in criminal law.
And as in the criminal justice system, it does not presume guilt.
Impeachment is a search for the truth.
If, after a thorough investigation of the facts, a federal official is impeached by a majority vote of the House of Representatives,
he or she stands trial in the Senate, presided over by the Chief Justice of the United States.
The presumption of innocence still remains.
In our country's history, no president has ever been convicted by the Senate.
Only 2 presidents have ever been impeached and gone to trial: Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, both who were later acquitted by the Senate.
Richard Nixon resigned from office rather than face almost certain conviction from 3 articles of impeachment passed by the House Judiciary Committee.
The charges were abuse of power, contempt of Congress, and
obstruction of justice. Our forefathers fought a bloody war against a tyrannical king. When they framed the Constitution, they did so fully aware of the potential dangers of a powerful executive. What do you do when the individual who's responsible for administering the law, the president, is himself a lawbreaker? The framers of the Constitution gave us the tools to handle such an event. They did their job. Robert Mueller did his job. The question is, will we do ours?
That's the question, baby. That's it. That is it. That's the question we're left with. Are we going to do our job? Is our Congress going to stand up and do their job? That is 10 acts of obstruction of justice that the Congress can bring impeachment hearings on tomorrow. It's laid out in the Mueller report. It's public opinion that has to be swayed. That's what Nancy Pelosi is saying now. She's waiting for that public opinion. And shows like this, it's going to go a long way. And having Mueller testify on July 17th is going to do the same thing. It is going to put it back in the public eye, and it's the only. It'll work two ways. Either we impeach him and force the Republicans in the Senate to turn against him, or we start impeachment inquiries and all that information to get his ass out in 2020. Neither way. I'd like to see it a lot sooner, but
Yep.
You get what we get, it's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
actually, I cannot see why Congress is not doing their job.
That's the big question I have. This is laid out. There's not a question on did he.
Yeah,
What's that?
It's money.
Yeah.
And Republicans absolutely money. They're not going to do it.
And there's big money floating around everywhere. Ask Mitch.
Yeah.
Ask Mitch. Mitch got a bit of it. It's a shit show. A shit show every day. Every day we
it is.
But after I saw this the first time, I was encouraged. I wanted other people to see it because it does.
I watched this the other day. Or I had it on the other day, and I wasn't paying total attention, but it was on, so I could hear most of it.
Right. Yeah, it lays it out.
It does.
With who said what and what was done.
I think they have done the best job so far of making this accessible for everybody to understand and hear, because just the mere fact that he can come out and say that he was completely exonerated. You listen to what's in the official report, Jesus, it doesn't mean, not that he was completely exonerated, but it's more like you really think that this thing made you sound remotely okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like airing out his dirty laundry right there.
Yeah, so every time you hear him come out there near the helicopter and stuff and go, no collusion, no obstruction, bullshit. Yeah, it is. And you were found guilty of it. The investigation showed you did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, another thing about this is there's a little bit of
go ahead.
Call it humor in it, so that people more understand it. It's just not dry.
Yeah, no. They had several punchlines in here we all got a good laugh out of. Because you could hear the ridiculousness.
That made it more interesting.
Right.
It made people pay more attention, I think.
Yeah. How awesome would it have been if Alec Baldwin was Trump?
Yeah. Might have made it a little bit more
That would have been really good, but honestly, John Lithgow, he played it. I mean, obviously he's played villains before, so it's like...
Yeah, this
really good.
Well, I'm sure these people volunteered and Alec gets paid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was an all-volunteer effort here. Velda, you were fixing to say something?
Yeah, along with this, plus Stepanoff's report and following him around, where he said he'd do the same thing again.
Yes.
He's throwing everything out that these 10 counts are already been filed against him. He's already done another 15 of them.
Yeah. This is just the investigation,
And he needs to go.
He needs to go.
And I think Nancy Pelosi, I think she may have been bought off.
I'm not too sure. Nancy, I'm trying to hold off. I'm trying to hold off. She's just too damn cautious, I think. Yeah, she's being very cautious. I think she's trying to wait until public opinion sways more until there's more demand in the Congress, which I think we're up to 74, I think.
Or she's acting like a battered wife.
Yeah. Well, let's hope not. I don't want her to duck. I want her to come out swinging, baby.
I think she wants a slam dunk. I don't think she's going to get a slam dunk.
No, I agree.
No, but the numbers are keep mounting that are calling for impeachment inquiry, and you know, when those numbers get to a certain point, she won't have a choice in the matter. You know,
The public opinion, I don't think, is there yet.
No, not yet.
Most of them are writing that he will never make 2020.
Well,
I think they're right.
Yeah.
It wasn't there with Nixon either until they started having the hearing.
That's right. That's what my point is the Republicans in the Senate did not turn on Nixon until after the impeachment inquiry started. And it was, as it was just pointed out, we've had 2 impeachments that didn't go anywhere. 2 impeachments, and both presidents were not indicted into the Senate. But the one that would have, that most mirrors this situation, he would have been convicted. Nixon would have been convicted if he had not resigned. And
exactly.
You know, that's what.
And he would have gone to get jail if Ford hadn't pardoned him.
Ford pardoned him immediately, because Nixon was in some deep trouble, and so is Donnie. Now Pence, you know, might try to step up and try to pull a Ford if Pence ain't walking out next to him in handcuffs, which I think he should also. You know, it's the whole ball of wax.
If Donnie would resign, then Pence could get away with it.
Yeah. If Donnie would have resigned,
Pence they could go, oh, well, him resigning was
to heal the country.
Enough to heal the country. Yeah. It was enough of a penalty.
Yeah, his shame that he will carry forever. That's not enough for me. He don't got no shame. He don't give a shit after he leaves this. He's got money in the bank, baby.
Guys do.
That's all he's ever been concerned about is, does he have money in the bank, and does everybody think he's a great guy? You know, the only one that thinks it is him. You know.
Yeah, remember his theme song from The Apprentice, Money, Money, Money.
Money, money, money. That's it.
That's all he
It's
is.
the core.
Well, it's about.
Everything about this man
Never
has always been about
watched
that.
The Apprentice, not one.
I never did either, Spark. I never did.
No, but everybody knew, like, you know, that's the thing, and I
seen the commercials.
Yeah, you see the commercials and all that, but that's just it. It's like this entire time, it's been said multiple times throughout the night. You know, this is literally just a show, and he's winning every single day. People are looking at this and getting a kick out of it. What I mean by that is, like, the idea of public opinion. I really hope people on, let's say, the right aren't in this just for the entertainment, because a lot of, you know, America's known for dramatic entertainment.
Now, there's
reality
a certain
TV.
reality.
Exactly.
There's going to be a certain amount of that are.
This is damaging though, and it needs to stop.
Everybody, you know, there are some in our society that are ignorant like that don't give a shit about the actual issues. They just like to see drama.
And they'll keep him in for it.
Yeah, they'll vote for him.
It's going to take at least 8 years to get us back in with everybody on sound footing.
There you go, Belle. I think you said it right. This is not going to be over just when we get him out. You know, we have to build this crescendo back up the way we did in 2018 and do it again in 2020, even bigger, because we have to take the Senate. We need 4 seats in the Senate. There's 22 Republican seats up. I'm sure we can grab 4 of them in this day and time. I hope so. I hope so.
And I hope to God too, with that same breath, John. I hope to God that if we get a Democratic House and Senate, they'll go back Kavanaugh and the other one and come back in and say, why did you lie in your hearing?
Yeah, there's a good, yeah. Well, I don't know if they can do that if they once are, you know.
Well, he lied.
They can be impeached.
They can be impeached.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They just read
The
that.
House of Representatives Judiciary Committee has to start the impeachment. Supreme Court justice.
Everything starts in the House.
And I'll remember his tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people
I like beer.
draw tears in a moment.
That's
I like beer.
That's if you ask everybody about Brett Kavanaugh, that's what they came away knowing one major fact, and that is that he likes beer. It was, he stressed it so many times. Yeah.
Who doesn't like
Who
beer?
doesn't like beer? Beer's good, but that's why we drink it here, because ain't no beer in heaven. That's what they say.
You say.
So,
there ain't no nothing in heaven.
there ain't nothing up there, baby. Yep.
Just remember those good football players, baseball players, hockey players, soccer players all go to heaven. And there's going to be games. And guess what's going to be on the menu?
What's on
Hot
the
dogs and beer.
Hot dogs and beer. Boy, howdy.
There you go.
I've been paying
And popcorn and tea.
I've been paying attention to the women's soccer team. I'm hoping they take the World Cup.
Take the cup again.
Yeah.
I do too. I mean, that'd be great.
Not only just because America gets a win, just because I want to see
the snub.
Yes, I want to see the snub, and it was in the news again today.
AOC invite them to the to watch.
And Megan Rapinoe, yeah, she's capped.
Yeah.
AOC has got a smear campaign going on her right now.
AOC has a smear campaign going on. What?
Against her.
Against her.
When has she not had? She's ever...
No. This one is where she's supposed to be leaning up against the fence, crying her eyes out about seeing the kids in the detention center.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that picture was taken about 2 or 3 years ago, before she even got into Senate, when they were watching her, following her. And anyways, her photographer uploaded some of his pictures that he had never published before. Well, Sean Hannity got a hold of it and made up this whole story about her, and all the other news stations didn't check their sources and ran with it.
Oh, shit.
Sounds like the media.
Yeah. Got a shiny object.
Sean Hannity. Trump's enema.
Did you see where Beto went to Mexico today to talk to the people?
No.
Have to stay in Mexico?
No,
I seen a little clip of that, but I didn't see a clip, but I seen a posting on Facebook about that, but I didn't read it.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Why had it?
I didn't see it.
Evidently,
check it
got
out,
a thing on Facebook with it.
Huh.
He did a Facebook Live.
I still ain't figured out why Ivanka went to G20 with Dad.
Because she's
What
daddy's
the fuck was
little
that all
girl.
about?
That's it. That's all.
It's
And that's the same
that's his
reason
second
Jared
wife.
Kushner was there,
Yeah.
too.
Because she's looking for business deals.
That's it.
Oh.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking for
That's
any way to
exactly
make
it.
a buck. And that's all
That's
this
what they
family is good for. It's disgusting. It's sad because we can
Disgusting, yeah.
all see that. Every one of us out here can see what's going on. And they play it up like, oh, it's business. It's we're working for America. No, you're not. You're not working for us. You're working
That's
for
what
your
they're
own
doing.
filthy ass. And
So
she has those Chinese patents. Now she needs
oh,
the
she's
Russian
got
ones.
Chinese. Yeah, she needs some Russian patents. She's got Chinese patents out the wazoo.
Oh, she probably wanted to get in the Japan market.
Well,
the one thing that chops. Yeah. The one thing that we've got to be very, very careful, everybody out there, is that when you come across the source, before you even do the clickbait and send it on, double check, go and check the source, because they are really piling it on this for this next 15 months. We've got to be diligent.
That we have to be very vigilant, because that's what they're going to do. Because Mitch McConnell and the Republicans aren't going to do a damn thing to stop them. As a matter of fact, encouraging them to do it. And you know, we're talking about Russia. North Korea has capabilities to do shit over the internet. You know, he's sucking up to these people. These are the people he wants to help him get elected again.
Bitch McConnell.
Bitch McConnell, that's him. We got to get rid of his ass. It's as important to get rid of Mitch McConnell and take control of the Senate as it is to take the White House. It is a must-do situation, because we take the White House and they retain the Senate. Baby, we're just in some more shit for 4 more years, 2 more, until we get the Senate. You know
what they need to ask at the next debate for all the Democratic candidates is to ask for their support of the man running against McConnell.
That is essential.
Will they commit to it? Yeah. Every one of them, because they cannot do their job with him there in the way.
Exactly.
No, and we need a commitment from every one of them, which I believe every one of them already has done. That no matter who the nominee is, I want every one of these people up there on the stage in those 2 debates behind him, encouraging their supporters to take up the banner and vote blue. It has
not
to.
Not like what Bernie did, but Bernie people last time.
That has been part of the discussion, that some Bernie people did not vote because it was or had a protest vote for Jill Stein or something like that. And that's part of what may have brought Donnie to us. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to split the ticket. No. We can't afford to make a mistake this time. This has to be all for one, baby. This is all of us that have to fix this. Anything less.
They need to have backup paper ballots.
Yeah.
To back up your vote, because if they have to recount,
I know.
I mean, the
that bothers me. It really does. Ever since
Arkansas is paper. Arkansas is still paper.
Well, there you go. That's good.
So is Washington.
Not Texas.
On paper.
Not Texas, baby. We want to be able to cheat anywhere we can. That's the Republican monster down here.
So is California.
Yeah.
Hey, I got an idea. If you're in Texas and you got a cell phone, take a picture of your ballot.
There you go.
Yeah, you could do
any
that.
Any kind of backup you can.
I think they tell you there's a law about taking pictures in there.
Yeah, you can't have your cell phone.
You can't.
Well, if you have absentee ballot, you'll have a copy of it.
If you do an absentee.
That's how I vote. That's how
I don't want nobody getting in trouble if you go voting out your camera there in the voting booth. They might say something.
Yeah. They pay the postage in Washington State.
I've done that for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, pay close attention, because my wife, Marcia, went to go vote one time, and it switched on her. The names, it was switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. And Marcia caught it and called the poll worker over there and said, "I'm not pushing the button here. This is wrong." And they had to go in and delete that. But right there, it told me, oh, yeah, happened once. It's going to happen more than once, baby. Somebody's messing with that shit.
Yeah. And that was only for Ted Cruz and Beto.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of concern about the way we vote. And that is something that we should not have in this country. Should not have a person in this country be concerned about their vote not counting. But we do. We have a vast majority of people in this country that feel that their vote is negated, that doesn't count. And we were discussing that the other night.
Electronic anymore.
Well,
let me ask you something, John.
Because they want instant results.
Yes.
It needs to back up a little bit.
I was on the Bob.
Do you think the Republicans are beneath supporting a third-party candidate just to split the Democratic vote?
No, that's not beneath them. They would try to bring a third-party liberal challenger. Yeah.
Just to split the vote.
I would not put that past them one bit. To try to split the vote. They're going to try to do it any way they can. They're Republicans. Lie, cheat, steal. That's it.
They've got Trump has somebody running on the ticket with, and that's how they can split the vote right there.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of talk about him dumping Mike Pence. He says he's not. There's talk about Nikki Haley though. Yeah.
Pincey Pants.
Yes.
Or Sarah.
That guy creeps me out.
Now, Sarah's going to run for governor of Arkansas, I understand.
Oh,
I want to see that
I
happen.
can guarantee you there's a lot of people that's here in Arkansas that didn't like her daddy and fucking don't like her.
That's good. It's good to hear. That's great to hear.
I wouldn't be shocked to hear Ivanka as vice president.
Oh, please.
Oh, God.
Dennis, come on. Don't do that to us, man. I was about to go to bed. I don't want to have nightmares.
Man, I'm going to throw up now.
No shit. That's a scary
We don't need any fucktards
I
coming
got
off.
tickled over that little video of her trying to stand in there amongst the world leaders in there. And she
Who cares what the Republicans do?
That's it. I don't. Well, we better care.
Did you see?
He could run Mickey Mouse as a vice president. I still wouldn't vote for him.
Nope.
Did you see the interview with Christi? I remember who it was that interviewed him. Oh, he was on
Letterman the other night. Not Letterman.
Stephen
Colbert.
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert the other night.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
He was also on The View, and it's like, that dude. Dude. They're opening up that investigation again about Bridgegate and all that stuff.
Mr. Mobster, Chris Christie. Yeah, I didn't know about the bridge. Yeah, kiss my ass.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing, like closing that beach.
Ass on the beach.
Yeah, close the beach so you can fit his butt out there to get sun.
Yeah.
Yep, that meme will live forever. It'll go on in history, baby, just like the toilet paper on the end of a shoe. It's there for posterity. Anyway, it's about a little after 10 o'clock. So it's been a great show.
Mom is probably wondering where you are.
I'm probably wondering when this is going to shut down so I can come in there and get ready for bed.
I'm getting the eyeball too.
Yes, it's time. You get that. Y'all talk forever.
Hey, the wrong part of the country. I don't get an eyeball for the country.
Time flies when you're in good company, baby. That's what it is. That's what it is. But
I forgot what today was, so that's why I was late getting on. It's like, oh my God, it's Sunday.
It's Sunday. Tomorrow's July 1st, and we start the middle of the year. So,
Oh, and the Trump celebration on the 4th.
Yes, Donnie's gonna have his big celebration.
I feel violated.
They're gonna be flying the blimp.
What's that, Sparky?
The baby Donnie blimp.
Oh, before we leave,
to fly.
I'm glad you said that. I haven't got them yet, but I had a message from one of our Patreon members who had contacted me to make sure they had an address that they wanted to send me something, and so I wrote back and I gave them the address and whatnot, and the young lady wrote back that I have some Trump babies coming. I have some blow up Trump babies coming, so
I've seen one of the Trump pinatas, the one that he's the baby in the diaper thing. I've seen one of those the other day, and oh my God, that was so funny.
Yeah. So evidently we have some Trump babies coming. We'll look forward to making fun of that shit. But I want to thank everybody. What's that?
We all need one of those with
helium. Yeah.
You gonna blow them up on the court?
Yeah, we'll carry them around. I'll bring one up to our meeting in San Antonio in July next month. Coming up quick too, so y'all make sure to get your tickets early to meet up in San Antonio July 20th at Rudy's Barbecue in Northeast San Antonio, and for a Blue Dot family hookup. If you can make it, we'd proud to see you there, baby. But
you better eat some barbecue.
Gotta eat some barbecue, baby. Texas barbecue. All right. Well, I'm going to call it an evening. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters that make all of this possible and those that support the show. It is vitally, it's everything nowadays, baby. That those that support us is what's going to keep us going. Anyway, my love to all of y'all for joining us, and those in the Discord channel, hang on, and we'll be right back. For the rest of you out there on YouTube and Facebook, we appreciate your time. It's the most important thing you can give us, is your ear and your time. I was really impressed with the conversations that were going on into the chat, and I find it funny that Oddly Wired is going to have to rewind the whole thing. When he got up to go eat his Mexican food, we all started talking about him, so he's going to have to rewind this whole thing to just go back and find out what we said about him. Anyway, y'all have a good evening, and we'll see y'all later. Love to all. Bye-bye.